I am not a car enthusiast because I consider that a very well-developed, high-level, beautiful thing to aspire to. I would love to be a car enthusiast one day. I don't even want to give myself the credit that I'm even a car enthusiast yet, but I think what's great about this space is I'm a girl who wants to learn. And I think my presence and my ability to be like, that's a bad chick over there, and this one's driving over here, and me putting the little girls inside the driver's seat, which has been very welcomed, by the way. That's the exciting spot for me, where I really think that it's been a problem of access, because once you enter those spaces, particularly with the 30-year-old guys and younger, they are very welcoming in my experience. Yeah, ladies, I mean, we're coming for it, and it's a very exciting time to be driving, to be building, to be doing all this stuff, rallying together, driving with each other. You know, I have a very good friend. She drives a McLaren, and like when she and I show up to rally, they're like, what? And it's fun, and it brings the conversations are more fun, and everybody's having a better time. And that just kind of comes with diversity in general. Like the more perspectives and the more life lived that you have around you, just the more fun it's going to be. Like, listen, I love to co-pilot. I ain't nobody's passenger princess. Okay, there's a big freaking difference. And, you know, if you only want to, you know, co-pilot, I think that's great. But then co-pilot. Don't be a passenger princess, because then otherwise, why'd you even come? You know, I've seen some boys who are some pretty passenger princesses. You know what I mean? So I think it's really exciting. The one thing, and I mean, listen, I don't think it's ever going to go away. I mean, because things can be sexy, you know. I'm not going to be prude, and you know, but the one thing there is absolutely a side to car culture that can absolutely be misogynistic. Like, I mean, like, it's happening right now. Like, there's girls in Miami who are naked, who've been airbrushed with palm trees and rally flags all over their bodies. You know, they're only covered in paint, and they're laying over cars. They're not laying over my car for attention. They're laying, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty obvious why they're there, to bait the male attention, that not even the male attention, the hetero, you know, that type of attention. So I don't know if that's ever going to go away. I mean, that's one of the rules we actually have in Schwick Wheels, and very early on we actually had that problem. So we had, and it's nothing against them. Like, they're not even in business just because I don't think they had the grit to stay in business. But they had a sweatsuit company, apparel company of some sort, you know, and they did, you know, they were cute. You know, those girls with, you know, the midriff hoodies and the short shorts, you know, like the hoodie type of shorts. And they did a shot with our Huracan, with her sitting on the hood of my Huracan, which was bad, number one, and then spreading her legs in a V so that the Lamborghini logo was exactly where it needed to be in the money shot. And I said, you can't use that photo. What do you mean it's our best shot? I was like, it's a cool shot. I said, but that's not the message I'm sending with my brand and my cars and me as a woman. I said, it's not happening. And they couldn't use the shot. So, I mean, I don't know if that's ever going to go away, but it's very exciting to be a woman. There is, there's all kinds of grants and leadership opportunities to getting women, you know, grease monkeys and all that stuff. It's a very exciting time. I have a lot more fun driving than sitting co-pilot. And, you know, this is one things that I wanted to say. Anyone who follows me knows that I have a strong Lambo presence, and I've been taken very well care of by the Lamborghini brand. We know the whole chain, and there's a particular rally that I've been a part of since it's not even from its birth, from its inception, working with their marketing team on She Drives a Lambo. And we've only had them twice, and the third one is going to be coming up in October. But this is something really exciting that happened. So, I mean, Lambo could give you the stats of how many women owners they have and what the women are buying from Lambo and so forth and so on. And we've already seen a jump in Lambo sales from how many women are actually buying Lambos, and then which models of cars women are now buying. But that's all to say, the first time we had a Lambo event, you know, we were here in Connecticut, and we went to Lime Rock Racetrack, And that's actually where I learned how to drive the STO, by the way, properly on paddles, was going on a She Drives a Lambo event and then them taking the Squadra Corsa racing team out and teaching us how to drive all of our cars. And that's how I learned how to drive on paddles. And I got a real racing coach.
What's the fastest you've ever driven?
That I've seen my speedometer, probably 115. But if I'm going faster than that, like, I'm not looking at the speedometer, guys. Like, I'm looking at the road. You know, so I've been on an airstrip with the Huracan. I think I hit 200 because I know how hard it was for me to slow down. That was a scary experience. But so at this She Drives a Lambo event, the first year, now a good friend of mine, nothing wrong with this, but a whole bunch of women came in their Uruses, which is the SUV. And some people expected that, to see a whole bunch of women in. And it was like Uruses and like a whole bunch of STOs, by the way. Like my friend Nancy, she was in her STO, brought it in from California. I was in our STO, so forth and so on. In 1 year, that same woman, okay, riding in the back, driving her Urus, whatever. The next time we'd have She Drives a Lambo, she comes in with a Giallo Inti yellow Revuelto, and she made sure she was first in line. And this baddie like ripped the whole rally. She wouldn't let anybody get in front of her. And it was sick because there was 5 Revueltos and there's all women drivers. And I'm obviously one of them. Arguably the first female Revuelto driver in the United States. Everybody, you're looking at her right now. Let's go. But that was huge, where we went from, in 1 year, this woman driving an Urus in a rally to then being out front, you know, driving a V12. So we absolutely, Lambo won't confirm this because I guess there's like legalities with this. There's definitely another woman in the EU who drove the Revuelto. But as far as everyone is concerned, I am I was the first one to drive the Lamborghini Revuelto. My training was done on the New Jersey Motorsports Raceway in South Jersey. And yeah, my friend Amanda, she has the violet one. The woman who I was just talking about, she drives a Giallo Inti. Then they had 2 dealership ones. Some journalist was driving. Her name is Scotty. Oh, she does a girl's guide to cars, and she interviewed me on that podcast. So we might be having Scotty come in here one of these days. But pretty exciting about the Revuelto is that was my first spec I ever did by myself, and to go from never specking a car to then specking out a premier V12 Lamborghini Revuelto in the middle of Manhattan at the Lamborghini Lounge with signing an NDA. Had to turn in my cell phone. They hadn't even named the car before we got there. They wouldn't even let us know the name of this thing. And I'm shaking. I'm drinking champagne. I'm freaking out. Billy goes upstairs. He's very distractible, so he's not paying attention to how I'm designing this car. And we were on first release for that Revuelto. So the Revuelto that was in the Schwick Wheels fleet, that was the first of 300 cars that ever came to the United States. And one of them was my spec. So that spec was glorious. It's a V12, carbon ceramic brakes, and the exterior color was called Verde Turbine with the Arancia bicolore leather, the Alcantara wheels and accents throughout. We had carbon fiber throughout the accents as well. Then infamously my rims. So they are 21-inch rims, I believe, on the Revuelto. And my car comes in, and I was freaking out because other people were starting to reveal their cars. And Billy is at Lamborghini Greenwich, took a picture with the car with the regional director standing outside of our car. I get the picture, and I go, that's not my car. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, the rims are wrong, because I did a black ebony gloss rim, and those were chrome. And I freaked out because when you were in the Lamborghini Lounge, not only did you have to sign an NDA, but because we were on that limited release of the first release cars, you really only got a choice of like 8 exterior colors, I want to say. And maybe there was like a handful of interior options because understandably they couldn't configure every single version of it to get it out on time. So you were limited, and then you sign it, and then you never see your spec again. You just leave. And so when I see the car, I'm shaking. I go, did I drink too much champagne? Did I screw it up? I screwed it up. I screwed up the car. Because if you know anything about Schwick wheels, we don't do anything stock. Like all of our cars are typically one of one, and we always do black ebony on all of the rims. Our sales manager was a gem. His name is Paul Kim out of Lamborghini Greenwich. Somehow he gets his hands on my original build from that night in the Lamborghini Lounge in Manhattan. He calls Bill back and he goes, Sharon's right.
Wow.
It takes 2 more weeks to get those rims in from Italy through customs to get them onto the car. So meanwhile, everybody's revealing their Revuelto, and I just had to sit on it because I wasn't going to reveal the car without the right rims on it. Because what do the haters say? Oh, look at the stupid rim. Oh, they didn't like their rims, so they got new rims. No, my friend. That's how I built that car.
Wow.
Yeah.
And can you say again that you were the...
We believe I am the first female driver of the Lamborghini Revuelto in the United States.
Woo! Spit it. Spit that shit.
Yep.
Let's go. That's gangster.
And I was really proud. But here's that humbling part, right? Where when we get to Sedona, Arizona for She Drives a Lambo, the whole big thing was, and I don't think they captured this the way I wanted to, I said, I might have been the first one, but I'm not the only one. So there was 5 women, and we drove our Revueltos that whole weekend.
Tell me a little bit about that vehicle, like the engine, how fast it goes, what type of car shit for that.
Yeah, I mean, the Temerario is absolutely going to be doing 10,000 RPMs, but the Revuelto was like right behind it. There are 3 very big EV batteries in that car, so the weight of that car is approaching just over 4,500 pounds. It's a V12. It absolutely goes into Corsa performance, fully gassed. What I'm so proud about with Lamborghini is being that first supercar where they figured it's not like a hybrid where we're like, oh, it's a high. No, this freaking thing goes from being completely EV and Cheetah, CITTA, then you can move your components so that you are in a classic hybrid. And then when you are in full Corsa Sport or Corsa Performance, you are only on fuel. So you are in a fully gassed car. There is nothing hybrid going on in that car. So you have like the 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds, I think it is. And then, you have the maneuverability of everything that you love in Lambo, and then you have that power and that agility because of it's electric. It's electric, boogie woogie woogie, and then but you have this V12 massive monster on your hands. There was a couple of downsides to the Revuelto. I mean, to get that thing fully aspirated and then, getting it to where it's warmed up completely to get into Corsa Performance, it takes a solid minute to really getting that thing. It eats gas like a champ because it's so heavy. It's a very small gas tank, so you are eating gas a lot. And then ultimately the decision to, does it stay on the fleet? Does it not stay on the fleet? Transporting that thing is a monster. Being oriented to the passive electronic system, making sure that's off. I mean, it's just battery drain all day. It's very wide. I believe it's 88 inches in the back, so it's not fitting your typical trailers for transport. We had a lot of issues with that. The car dying in the trailer is a big deal. So, I mean, these are all those things where, when they have to take criticism from the customers and get better and get stronger at what they're doing is really, working on transportation, really orienting your owners to what kind of machine they have, and then fixing a couple of glitchy things. But it's a beautiful, powerful car for sure.
What performances did you used to do?
So I was like the quintessential church girl. Like all of this is crazy. Like my parents have no idea who I am. Like they don't understand it. They don't like that I do this. Like, I mean, we are like sugary, sweet, perfect. So from the age of 4, I'm put into classical ballet lessons and one-on-one violin lessons. And then from there, it's all like, trying to get on stage with the schools and all that stuff. And then ultimately it just turns into sacred music. My mother classically taught me how to sing. I was a French horn major in college. I was all state in high school. I was drum major. And I've left all of that behind. And now I'm Shari. The one thing my father does agree to is that my name is Shari Schwick.
But the performance part
Yeah.
has to do with how you've been so successful in business and
Yes.
articulate, and that
I think so.
trained you in a way, right?
I think, yeah, everything happens for a reason. Like whatever your journey is, everything is useful. Things don't happen to you, right? They happen for you. And even though you may not understand why you're going through this adversity or why did I develop that skill for so long? Was it such a waste? No, it wasn't a waste at all. It's being repurposed and reused in a part of your life that I think really makes it more colorful and interesting. And so what was one thing that Billy said about me before is, you know, when people call me to do events, charity events, appearances like that, I go into go mode pretty easily. You know, on the, like when we're doing the parade or we're doing a coat drive or something like that, you know, I'm putting in permits with the towns. I'm making relationships with the council people. I am, you know, reaching out to the other volunteer organizations, and it all kind of comes at me like this because that's a whole different skill base that I used to exercise. My first degree, my first BS degree, my Bachelor's of Science degree was called Therapeutic Recreation. And all I did was events and activities for people with special needs. And so my whole profession was based on, so I always say I took work home with me when we talk about Bill, my special needs case. But my whole professional life, even leading to my real estate life, is to assess the need, to assess what their strengths are, what's kind of missing, and then what the goal is, and trying to use that person's strengths and the resources that I may know or I know how to lead them to, and then you're making. I'm not making group therapy anymore. I'm making a car show or I'm making a parade, but you know, nothing in your life is ever wasted. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you, so that when you continue on your journey, as long as you are walking forward with as much humility and integrity and and knowing what your strengths are, I promise all of those skills are going to be used again. You've heard me maybe reframe it in a different way, where I always say, like, my direct competition is within myself. It's the person that I answer to has to be this way before I start working with you this way. I have to hold myself to a standard and a professionalism as to who I am and who do I want to put myself out in the world as. And the biggest shift that ever happened for me was simply practicing gratitude. And I promise you, I have been in some really dark places. And sometimes it's just white knuckling it on whatever you are. And we're talking like there would be days where I said, thank you for the color blue, because that's the only thing I could actually get out of my mouth. And then when you start operating out of a place of gratitude and you know where your strength comes from and your faith is focused from inside out, you'd be surprised at the energy, the abundance that starts coming towards you. I remember being a single mom with Elena, and I'm happy to say that on the other side of that divorce, we've come to a really great place of co-parenting and being her friend and, you know, having that life together as exes. But, you know, in those beginning years, it was really scary, and I was really alone, and I really had nothing. My home goes into foreclosure. I cannot hold a job because Elena was at that time between the ages of 2 to, I want to say, almost 5, like all of her daycare years. She was violently ill, and I could not hold a job because I was calling out sick for her, and they just saw me as someone who wasn't showing up for work. So that's all to say, financially, I had nothing. At one point, like when I meet Billy and I'm working in the nursing home as one of the group therapists, I made a deal with my private babysitter because at that point I couldn't even afford daycare. And with the per diem hours I was being given, I was only making $80 a day. And so this is like 2013. So I would make $80 a day with a master's degree. And so I came up with the arrangement with my babysitter that she would take $40 and I would take $40. So I would work all day for $80, giving my babysitter half, which was under market value for her too. And that's all to say, my relationship with the Lord was probably stronger in terms of an everyday, you know, hour by hour friendship that I had with the Lord at the time. And the story I kept leaning on was the story of the Israelites going through the Exodus, and how the Lord provided for them was he would provide manna and bread for them for the day. It's just this miracle. however you want to believe how that story became true. And so in my practice of gratitude, Lord, thank you for the job. Thank you for the $80. Then I would add, Lord, please provide me my manna for the day. And sometimes that manna was, I don't know, I would get a gift card and a birthday card or something. But then I would just show up to my mailbox, and unbeknownst to me, there would be a tax refund check of an overpayment from somewhere else. And I would just keep giving glory back to God and just keep thanking him for that. Then fast forward a little bit, things are getting really bad. And I start dating Billy, but that's not really a part of the story. And I remember having this conversation with God, and I say, laughing out loud, I said, come on. I said, let's just see how I do with a lottery ticket. Let's just see if you can trust me or not. Let's just see what happens. Come on, make me a millionaire. Like really being sarcastic and silly. Obviously, it wasn't a lottery ticket. It was all that hard work. But Billy and I build this brand of the consulting firm from 2015 to 2017. And then by 2020, we are buying cars and moving into a massive 5,000 square foot house. And, and that all goes back to the responsibility and the laughing out loud I did with God and being like, okay, you're trusting me with this responsibility. You're trusting me with this abundance. I'm not going to let you down. I'm not going to let it be all for naught. I'm going to just keep, I think it's Micah 6:8. What does the Lord require of you? To walk humbly, love justice, and something like encourage one another. So I really try to operate out of those three things, where I try to walk humbly and I try to encourage everybody. And this podcast has been that ultimate platform where that's what we want it to be. We want it to be entrepreneurs coming in, small businesses helping us climb to the top, where it's all focused on encouraging one another and noticing each other's strengths. Because I promise you, being a strong person has nothing to do with finding the weaknesses in others. Being a strong person and being a leader and being successful in this thing is all about knowing where you're strong and knowing who's stronger around you and leaning into that. Yes, you need to identify weaknesses so that you can see them as places that might need more encouragement, or places that you need to find more strong people to put in that part of plug up that part of the hole. But I promise you, everything about being a strong person, about being a strong entrepreneur, about doing anything is always about finding the strength and encouragement of others. Shit.
Something came for you on the mouth.
But you really interrupted me. All right, well, at least we have it on camera. Oh, boy.
Thought that'd be a good distraction. It just came from Poland.
These are bespoke leather shoes accessories.
Those,
Well, can I open it? You gonna ruin the surprise too?
go ahead.
Oh, this one says Bill. And this one says Panic. They both say Bill.
Well, it's an initial for the key.
Bye. They both say Bill.
But you don't even know what it is.
They're keychains. They're leather keychains.
For the
demon. So you interrupted my session
These
to
are
show me
custom-made from
custom-made keychains with your names on them?
That's not the point.
What was the point?
Forget it. Sorry for the interruption, anyway.
I thought one would at least say Bill, Sharon, Shari. He's making it look like some romantic gesture just happened. So Schwick Wheels has been open for arguably 3 years. So 21 into 22, 23, 24. Okay, so we're in our 4th year. And those first 2 years, I definitely have done so many things wrong. But one of the things I absolutely did wrong was make myself into a doormat. Something that I had mastered, and I'm so proud of that. I am not a doormat. When I don't know where I am, and I don't know how to behave really. I don't know what self-worth. The whole even definition of self-worth is completely different. Trying to understand how much I should charge people, and because I just want to give it to y'all for free. You know, people, and I don't, there's a beautiful thing of like, oh, hey, can you stage this car at this luxury place? And I'm like, yeah, sure. How much? Oh, don't worry about it. Just thank you for inviting me over. Like trying to really shift out of that place has been really, really difficult. Bending over backwards to meet every single kid's birthday who, I love Uncle Billy in a Lamborghini. Can you show up to my 8-year-old's birthday party? Like, I want to, but like stopping I have to make sure that cup is overflowing, not like, oh, I'm just going to pour the cup until it's completely bone dry. That type of abundance has been kind of difficult. You want to think about and reframe your thinking about is your own relationship with money. And relationships with money usually come with a lot of trauma. And I know for myself, speaking as gently as possible, I think culturally, generationally, and even family-wise, talking about money is not normal. And at least talking about money is not familiar. And usually it operates from a place of we don't have enough for this. And that's kind of where the conversation stops. So a lot of us were taught, oh, you want this, you got to work for it. Or, oh, you want this, we don't have enough for it. And it's just where the conversation stops. And if you are in a family who does this, I think this is great. And I think that you've been blessed where, the better conversation to have with your younger self or even with your young ones who you have is, oh, I want this. You need to work hard. Here's the first step of how you need to work hard. What does working hard even look like? And kind of going from there. In a silly kind of way, my grandmother has passed, and not for COVID reasons, but she died in August 2020. So this is before Schwick wheels. And years before that, I remember driving around with her, and my uncle was driving, who actually is a proper car enthusiast, and he works on older cars. And I think we were driving past some whatever supercar dealership, and I really had no interest in cars. But we're driving past it nonetheless, and I go, hey, Mom, can I have that car? Can I get that car? And she goes, you can have whatever you can pay for, dear. And the way that she said it, and I don't know why I remember that statement, it's just always kind of stay with me. And I think she's laughing now because now we have a fleet of 22 cars. So that's all to say, your relationship with money has to be looked at through whatever lens that you have, whether you're operating from a place of abundance or you're operating from a place of scarcity. Or if you don't even know what camp you're in, that's a problem. So you need to know where you're operating from, where it comes from money. So 3 things need to happen to manage wealth. And this is probably where the reel should have started. You need to know how to make money. And that's for you to get creative and decide of how you bring in income. Number 2 is you need to learn how to store that money. Storing money doesn't necessarily mean savings, because if you only stop at savings, I promise you're never going to get wealthy. You're never going to have enough to do anything, quite honestly. Savings is a complete farce that is scripted throughout our culture. There's no such thing as savings, okay? So just get rid of that word. We want to change your word from savings to storage. So you're going to be making money, then you're going to be storing your money. So what does your storing money look like? Then we're starting to talk about one of 2 avenues, where it is generating income because it's in some sort of annuity. I dance on the word stock market because we don't play stock, but you're in something where the money is working for you. Or at least if you're saving it, you're storing it so that you can buy an asset, an income producing return on investment, something. So you're making it, you're storing it, and then you're acquiring an income producing asset. Okay. So for instance, me and Billy just don't have, because we worked ourselves to the bone. We worked ourselves to the bone. And then number 2 is initially we never spent a dime. We didn't spend our money on anything until we started buying real estate, an income producing asset. Okay. There's other ways. There's other income producing assets. But for us, in our conservative way of managing money, especially at the time, because we've never learned about money before, we knew that putting our money into real estate would be income producing at some point, which is exactly what we've done. So then from that, you just keep storing and moving it into an income producing asset. So I will tell you, to this date, I always tell people, like, oh, what do you do for a living? This is what I do for a living. I manage 3 LLCs, 6 properties, and 22 cars. That is what Shari Schwick does on the reg. And so in the income producing assets, I'll tell you this. 2 of the properties are annual tenants, and then another 2 are vacation luxury rentals where we are bringing it in on a weekly, if not monthly basis. 3 LLCs, 6 properties, and 22 cars.
Well done. That's good. That's our segment.
Whew.
Feel good?
I do.
Good. Let's take some pics.
Any day I get to say I'm the first female driver is a good day.